And in an effort to maintain the lid on taxes, 2 years ago, the state legislature approved a tax cap levy of 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower, for municipalities and school districts. Now, it's conceded that by adhering to the tax cap is going to become increasingly difficult in the future years for these entities to provide essential services because of increasing capital and infrastructure improvements. They're going to need a lot of money for roads and for building repairs that may well cause them to exceed the tax cap. And if they do, they're going to have to lower it and, again, cut vital services. But what are your thoughts on the property tax cap law as it currently stands, and what, if anything, would you do to change the law if you're elected to the Assembly? And I'll start off with you, Kyle.
Sure, thank you. I'm a big believer in the tax cap. I think it was an appropriate and the right thing to do in a state where property taxes continue to skyrocket. And the current model, not sustainable, and people just can't afford the way things are going. They can't afford the levels now, especially if they continue at the rate they had been going. So I'm a fan of it. After it came out, I told my village board and our staff in Goshen that we need to be under this thing. We're going to do whatever we have to do. And we did a lot. We had our health insurance cost go up naturally. But what we did is we forced elected officials now to contribute to their health insurance, and that saved us a good amount of money there. And we had a budget that was under the tax cap. However, a lot of the things that we've done, you can't do the same thing the next year. We had 1.5 positions that were eliminated. We're not going to be able to do that every year for the next 5 years. At a certain point, you just can't deliver those services if you keep laying people off. I believe that there's a lot of things local governments can do to continue to save money in terms of working together through potential consolidations, but definitely cooperation. I'm not a fan of forced consolidations like some people would like to see just villages go away, but I think local governments need to work together. Ultimately, though, it needs to be a partnership between local government and the state, and New York State needs to get rid of some of the mandates that are really driving our costs locally, and that's not been done yet.
Thank you. Colin?
Thanks, Frank. The property tax cap, I think, is one of these other feel-good measures. Albany, hands down. But quite frankly, the problem is that taxes are too high to begin with. This isn't lowering taxes. This is just regulating the increase in the tax rate. So, yes, it's great. It's not going up as high as it used to, unless there's an override, which and all the different loopholes that were really written into this legislation. It lost a lot of teeth on its way through the legislative process, a problem we find over and over again with many pieces of legislation. But again, we need to close the loophole, and we also not have to worry about taxes going up a little bit. It's reducing taxes, because that's what people's problem is, that it's too high to begin with. And again, we're going to the unfunded mandates, and whether it's large or small, whether it's from the state posting laws and how many times they have to change that over and over again, and even just a few $1,000s that are spent changing out what has to be posted, what's not, to all the way up to the county level with Medicaid and anywhere in between. So quite frankly, it comes down to those mandates, and it comes down to not just studying the issues anymore, but just make the action and make it happen.
Thank you. Kyle, anything you'd like to add?
Sure. I would just like to add there's some important nuances between the tax cap requirements for local governments and for school districts. Local governments can override the tax cap with just a three-fifths vote of the board. However, school districts need to bring it to the voters, which is nearly possible to get these days because people are hurting. Why would someone vote in favor of an increase of taxes? So the state really needs to get to work getting rid of these mandates for school districts, because if they don't do something soon in the next few years in order to comply with this, our education is going to suffer. New York State, get to work. I'm here to help.
Colin?
I'm glad to see he agrees with me.
Okay.